Welcome everyone, and thank you for attending our webinar on the OSIsoft Customer Portal, our frequently asked questions and best practices. Today's presenters are Randy Esposito, Customer Success Operations Lead at OSIsoft, and Craig Torpey, Technical Support Group Lead at OSIsoft. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping notes. This webinar is being recorded, so we will be providing a recording and slides after the webinar. You can expect an email from us within a few days. We will also be conducting a poll this morning, and so your participation is highly appreciated. And if you have a question, please use the Q&A option in the WebEx platform. And any answers to unanswered questions will be posted in the documentation on myOSIsoft.com. And as you can see, there will be the option right to your right. And if you happen to be in full screen, that Q&A option should be located at the bottom. And with that, I'd like to hand it off to Randy Esposito to get started with today's presentation. Randy, thank you for joining us.
Hi, yes. To introduce myself, I'm Randy Esposito. I've been at OSIsoft now for a little over 2 years, and I'm currently the group lead for our customer success operations team. I've been a user and a customer of OSIsoft for almost going on 20 years now, so I have a long experience with Pi. Joining me today and helping with our questions is Craig Torpey. Craig?
Yeah, thank you, Randy, very much. So just to quickly introduce myself, I've been at OSIsoft for almost 10 years now, all within the customer support, customer success department. And for the past year or so, I've been working with a lot of stakeholders, customers, and internal stakeholders to develop and launch this new portal and our tools internally to support that change for our customers. So thanks, Randy.
Thanks, Craig. And so, Tom, our first polling question?
Thanks, Randy. Our first polling question is, have you logged into the OSIsoft customer portal? The options would be yes, no, or I didn't know about it. Randy, while we're waiting for people to participate, what has been the feedback so far in the participation in the portal since it launched?
Later on in the presentation, I actually have some statistics from our first week and a half, but we've had I would say, a fairly good uptake. There's been many thousands of users logging into the portal, and we've seen hundreds of cases actually being created on the portal and using the tools in that way. We know that some people have been having user access issues, and we are diligently working through all the access problems that people have been having to ensure that the information that our customers have with us is very secure, and that we have the people having the correct accesses to the information that they need in order to perform their jobs.
Okay. All right, I'm going to be closing the poll now.
So this will just take us a few minutes in order to get the results to come through. And again, I'd like to thank everyone for participating in the poll. It gives us an idea of the overall usage of our portal and how everything has been going. Tom, do you have the results of the poll?
I can tell you verbally right now, like 51% of our participants today have logged into the OSIsoft customer portal. 19% have not, and only 4% have not known about it yet.
Okay. So thank you, everyone, for logging into the portal who have already, and hopefully as we go through the presentation, I can give you some more ideas of ways in which you can accomplish the tasks that you need to with the portal. Let me remove this and move on. So to start off, on March 4th, we launched our OSIsoft customer portal. That was the next step in our own digital transformation journey, in which we are trying to provide to our customers a myOSIsoft overall digital experience with our company, to provide digital tools and experiences so that you can more easily get the things done that you need to with us. Our initial launch was our partner portal, and that was at the end of last year. And ongoing, there will be enhancements and improvements to all of these properties as we move forward, specifically around the things that you're providing us feedback on. So before we launched the portal, there was a number of different things that we were talking about in terms of the things that would be available there. And I just wanted to highlight these again because I will be walking through a number of these in the actual portal and showing where these certain changes were made. So we have our online case creation process and management, an expanded knowledge base, and that's something I'm really going to be highlighting here going forward, just because of things and methodologies that we have in order to try to get more information in front of our customers faster as we see problems coming through. We've implemented a new search engine. That search engine gives us the ability to see not only what people are searching for, but also what people are not finding. And it gives us the ability to tune our searches based upon how our customers are actually using it. And for us, that's a very exciting thing because we've never had that ability before. Another thing I'll highlight is that our portal is not just about support, and you'll see a couple of other areas where we've opened up doorways into different parts of the organization that you may not have had direct information presented to you from. Our customized homepage with the whole idea of creating an overall curated experience around your interactions with tech support, the information that we're putting out there, as well as other members and departments within the organization. And then a key part is our customer user management, where instead of us acting as a middle person between yourself and those in your organization who should have access to support and information, we're allowing customers to manage their own users, to create that layer of security and visibility so that the right people have access to the right information at your organization. So as Tom alluded to a little bit, I wanted to give you just some initial customer portal statistics from our first week and a half. We've had over 3,400 unique customer users log into the portal. And anyone who has logged into, I thank you. Anyone who has had user issues or problems and has worked with us, I thank you for being patient as we work through this whole process. Digital transformation is a journey, and often it is, as change comes in, there are things that we need to work through in order to ensure the overall best experience and processes. The other thing I'm highlighting, in the last week and a half, we've actually created another 190 external knowledge base articles, and some of those I'll be showing you as I walk through the portal. We initially transferred over from our older system on the order of about 300 or so of those articles, trying to find the ones that customers were most often using, the ones that were most relevant, the ones that were most important. And as we see issues come up, or as we see customers looking for information they might not be finding, we're either transferring over older information that obviously is now still relevant, or we're also creating new information so that you have the ability to find things that you need to in order to do what you need. And then the last piece is we've had over 700 cases actually created by customers on the portal. And again, thank you for everyone who has worked through that process to use the tools that we have. It enables us to better route that information because we have more information up front, as we talked about in some of our before go launch information. And it allows us to better manage actually how those questions are answered and get things to the right person to have that first interaction be the one in which we're trying to solve a problem rather than gathering more information. So going forward here, there's going to be a few things that I'm going to illustrate in the portal itself. So I'm going to do a walkthrough of the homepage, kind of illustrate some of the various components of it where you can find certain things. I'm going to show how to search our knowledge base. That's been something that's come up. There's not a knowledge base tab anymore. Everything is directed around search and then filtering down search to find information. We're going to talk about how to download various products and where various products are located. One of the things that changed as we moved into this new platform is our product information is really focused around how products are bought and bundled, and sometimes that's different than what we had in the original system. So therefore, finding some information that you're really looking at what bundles of software that you've purchased and using that to be able to find where various products are, how to find where our contact numbers are, That's one of the things that we've been showing in the new portal. How to add users, another thing that has come up often, and what user profiles mean. And then there's some questions about, I used to be able to find things in this place before. Where is that same information today? And again, I'll go through a couple examples of that. So to start off, I just wanted to some upfront best practices, and these things have come up a number of times in various both technical cases as well as customers calling in. Chrome is our recommended browser. We have seen issues with many other browsers, particularly with IE, and we're recommending Chrome for the full experience of the portal. One of the other things that has come up is the pop-up blocker. So on Chrome, there's a very small window that says that you're unable to have a pop-up on that window. And if you have the pop-up blocker enabled, you will not actually be able to start the downloads. And that's another thing we've seen a number of times to be able to. And then the last thing, and this is, again, I'll be illustrating this, search really is the best way to find information on our new portal. So with that idea, let me actually open up the portal and do a little bit of a walkthrough and illustration of some of these various things. So here I'll start from our myOSIsoft landing page. So before live, this contained a lot of information as to what was coming. And now after we have go live, this is the hub of information around not only things that you're looking for, training materials, information on both our customer portal as well as our partner portal and ecosystem, because that's all part of the overall myOSIsoft experience. You will see on here links to any of the specific how-tos around the things to do, and I will highlight one particular how-to get a customer portal login if you're having issues. This is really the first place to start, and I'll actually click through real quick, and you can see here it actually walks through step by step the various things that you need to do to get a login, the information that's going to be coming back to you, the information that we will need. And that's a good place to start if you're having difficulties getting a login to the case. What we've also been able to do is we've actually have these portal how-to walkthroughs translated into our major languages. Even though the portal itself is not currently localized into these languages, we've been able to provide the how-to walkthroughs in those languages to help customers globally. And one of the things I'll point out also, if you have any issues with your SSO account, there is a set of links down here either to create, update, or forgot your password on your SSO account. And as we continue down, and we'll be populating this with new things and new information as we go forward, you can see a copy of our first webinar that we did a few weeks ago. And also what will appear here will be the recording for this webinar. So from there, I will just simply go to log into the portal, which I've actually already done under a marketing account. And let me just do a quick page refresh. So here's the landing page, the home page for the new customer portal. And this is a marketing account that we have that we've been using to illustrate all of the things. So the data that we have is fairly good, but you will most likely see more and different information. So just to kind of walk through some various pieces on this portal, you'll see, obviously, in the front here, you'll see your recent cases, and it'll talk about status of the cases, what cases are answered, what cases are in progress, and this shows the most recent ones. You can also see here on the top, and this is configurable, the ability to show at a glance key information that you may be looking for. Particularly for this user, I've set up the open cases, all open cases at his organization and the sites that he has access to. And particularly, this is a rather new feature that we have the ability to put all cases that actually need your attention. So there's actually a case waiting for this particular engineer to do something with, and that's actually this first case here because it's answered. And I'll go into that a little bit more as to what that meant. And then I have on here open services. So one of the things to highlight, this is a configurable page. On the side here is a feed. And I can click into my profile. Now I can set my preferences for that feed. I've selected to see just alerts and security bulletins, but I can turn on new knowledge articles, release announcements if any known issues come on. I can even select cases. Case information can show up into that feed. And if I'm a user who's working with quotes, sorry, hello? Oh, geez.
Randy, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, I thought I lost you guys for a minute. And if I'm a user who's working with quotes or information, I can actually select to have those come up in my feed. And let me go back to the home page. So the key thing to note about this feed is that also the feed is curated around the products that you actually have. So the release announcements, alerts, security bulletins, everything are directly related to the products that you have access to at the sites that you're for your organization. So now kind of illustrating a few of the other areas, let me just move on to the cases tab. I'll get back to the products tab later. That's another thing I want to illustrate a little bit more in depth. So if I'm able to click into the cases tab, I can see right now I have it filtered down to all open cases. If I drop this filter down, I can actually filter down to things, various different types of case views. If I wanted to see all closed cases, I could see all closed cases, and this sees all closed cases for all of the sites in my organization I have selected. I can select an individual site, and I can just see the cases there, or I can select all of my sites. Let me actually go back to my open cases because I want to illustrate what information available on a given case. So this case has been answered, which means that it's waiting for me to either say, yes, that is a good answer and I've been able to use it to solve my problem, or no, please help me to continue working. So if I click into the case, and I'm going to see case details. So this is a case I created around corrupt archives that we've all had in Pi systems. And one of the things that you can see here is not only I have the resolution that's being proposed by our engineer, the case is marked as answered, and I have a couple of options of either I can keep working the case or I can close the case and this solved my problem. So in the case details, you can see a lot more about the case. You have the ability to see any attachments, any linked content. There's no knowledge base article linked to this, but if there was, you would see it in there. And if there was any remote sessions done as part of troubleshooting the case, they would show up under the Baumgart session. So you have a recording of what our engineers did with you, so you can go back and review, or you can go back and see how things were solved. So kind of moving back to the home page, as I'm going to move over to the tabs, let me illustrate the next thing here in the services space. So one of the things that we're able to do now with this portal is to, as I said, open doors to different groups. So we have the ability to open up service requests to see where something is in process, to see who's assigned, to see what is going on with a particular service, and actually even to request a service. So I requested a service for a Pi interface installation in our Philadelphia office. So if I actually click into the service itself, and I can see my request, when I made it, and the current status, and it's currently in the scoping status, when I'd like it to be done, the language, various pieces of information, anything I've attached, my infrastructure, any diagrams, any procedures for my particular company. As this moves through the process, it'll become scheduled, and then you'll actually be able to see who was assigned, when was it scheduled, when should you expect them, who will be contacting you. All that information is presented here. And if I go back to the actual service, all the open services, and one of the things I want to point out is you actually now can directly request a service from the portal. And this becomes another way in which we've enhanced our interactions with our customers. You can see I can pick certain types of services I can request here. These are mainly your installation and training services. If you have a need for any advanced training or any advanced services or those kinds of discussions, reach out to your CSM or EPM or account manager in order to do that, and they can then request the more advanced work. One thing to note here is I'm going through, let me pick up I want to do an interface installation. You'll also see here the data sheets for all the installations that give you, and I'll click in through here, that give you the data sheet and the things that you can expect us to do, the approximate timelines, our requirements, so you understand up front what we'll be asking you for as we go through a scoping exercise. I'll close this out, go back to the home page. So one of the other tabs I'd like to illustrate here is the success objectives. So this is something that may be more familiar to our enterprise customers and to some of our other customers, particularly those who have been directly engaged with some of our customer success managers. In our previous EA extranet, we had the ability to track certain tasks, certain objectives. We have moved that information into this customer portal to create an overall experience. And then you can see from this particular success objective, we're looking at doing an overall evaluation from our system architecture. And that's an in-progress thing going on. And if I click into my success objective, you can see the current status of the objective, how many tasks, what things are going on, what the end dates are. So it was the idea with many of our EA customers on our older extranet to track tasks and work items from both the customer side as well as the OSI side, and we've moved that information into here so that you can see what's going on. So you can use this as a means to communicate between yourself and your EPM or your CSM in joint tasks. I'll move on to one other area, so quotes. Another area that we've opened up doors to is our quote and PO processing system, and this particular site doesn't have any direct quotes, but this is somewhere where if there was a quote presented and you needed to upload a PO against it, like a quote for either product or services, you can simply go in here, be able to review the quote, and be able to directly upload the PO to the quote with all the information associated with it. The next thing I'd like to go to is a reports tab. So again, this is some more information that we've been able to make available and present out because of the overall nature of this portal. So there's a couple of different things that you'll see in the reports. In this particular case, I'm looking at all of the cases that have been created within the last year by this particular customer. And I can see my open cases, my closed cases. You can actually see what types of cases they are. You can see your download metrics. So you can see who downloaded what product, what version, and when. Also, that's been another thing that a lot of our customers have been requesting to see. And I do have some metrics around services. So how many services have I been working in the last year, what state various things are in. So the idea of being able to present more information that you can use to make better decisions with your information, to know what's going on, to understand the overall interaction between yourselves and OSIsoft. So from there, I just want to quickly highlight, there's a quick link section which has some links to various other pieces of information. One of the things I'll highlight here, and I'll highlight in another place also, is the feedback button. What we have recently gone live with is this will bring you over to our user feedback for our product and services. Many of you have seen this around some of the other products we have. We actually now do have a feedback form for myOSIsoft where you can provide your feedback on the various things in the portal. You can look at what others have provided. You can upvote. You can comment on it. So please, if you have suggestions of how to improve, of things that you'd like to see differently, create a feedback, look what others have done, comment on it, upvote it. We'll be using this to prioritize things and changes that we'll be making in the portal. And I will go back to the home page. So now one of the things I'd kind of like to highlight is our search functionality. So as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the information is driven from search. There's not a lot of different tabs to find information. We're using search as the gateway for that. So let me just do a quick search here for something that's a very useful piece of information. Portal FAQ. So if I search into a portal FAQ, so now I can see some search results, and I actually think the notice here is different content types. So we have different things around downloads. So I'm going to actually filter down to knowledge base articles. That's the most recent information, the how-tos of ways to get certain things done, either in the portal or technically. And you can see we've created an actual customer portal FAQ. And this is a really good place to look for information. We've been updating this on an ongoing basis as we see customers ask questions. We've been creating knowledge articles around things. You can find lots of different information here, and it's constantly updated on an ongoing basis as we see problems come through. We create knowledge articles that you can use to solve your problems. So let me go back to the home page now. So one of the areas that I'm going to highlight on a particular in-depth is the product section. And if you guys can give me just 1 second, let me do something with my headset. Sorry, I apologize for the audio. So one of the things that we've seen customers ask questions is, how do I download products? So I'm going to kind of walk through how the product information is organized now so that you can find a particular install kit that you're looking for, and you can then download the product and the documentation, both the current versions and previous versions. So one thing that I do want to point out on this page, and this has come up in a couple of cases, you do have the ability to create a custom name for a given Pi server. So you can see here I've actually renamed this to be the East system for this particular site, and if I just simply click into the pencil, I can change the nickname. I can also nickname any of the other products or systems that I have purchased to make it a little bit easier for me to find the information. So right now I've expanded out the Pi server, and you can see the various components that are bundled in with that purchase of a Pi server. You can see specifically the data archive itself, some other things around the advanced calculation engines, a Pi-to-Pi interface. So all of these you can see clearly what they are. You can look over to the right here. You have a download installation kit button. You also have a details button, and this gives you the details about that specific product, maybe the quantity of tags you have purchased. You'll also see here, this particular customer doesn't have an end date in their SRP, but you'll see an end date for the SRP for those products. You'll also be able to see from the gear icon anything around the system information requirements. So this tells me what operating systems, things like that, what's required for a given installation. So instead of it being separate download or information, we've included it as part of this download view. Also for Pi servers or data archive, you also get the license activation history. And I don't believe, no, I've not actually activated the license for this particular server, but I can also, then I can actually go and directly from here run a license activation for that particular server itself. So now if I can go in and I can download the data archive, for example. So I have all the various install kits for the current version of the data archive, and there's prerequisite kits, there's certain language packs, they'll all show up as part of the current version. You can also see all of the current version of the documentations. You also have, this will take a little bit to load because there are many older versions of data archive. You can actually get into all of the older versions of data archive that are available that you have the ability to download. And this is loading a fairly large file list right now. So all of the previous versions you can have. Now, this may be difficult to manage in terms of the numbers of files. You do have the ability, if I'm looking for something specifically like the system, as I'm typing this in, system management tools, I can search for a specific install kit from here. And I can filter it down to the types of files. And this is taking a second. This is a fairly large file list, so it's actually searching through all of the old versions of system management right now to pick them up. There we go. So I can see all of the versions of the old system management tools, the user guides, the install kits, and everything around that since I searched for it. Let me close that out. So now one of the things that comes up is, okay, that's the standard data archive, that's the larger products themselves. You'll see here something like a Pi visualization suite. So if I expand this, you can see bundled under a Pi visualization suite, which is the actual product purchased, you can see the various components and the ability to download each of these themselves. Now where we get into a little bit more confusion is something around the larger bundles of information. Like for instance, this particular customer has a bundle called Pi System Access. There are also other bundles around things like all standard interfaces bundle or the Pi Collection Suite bundle. So in cases where you do not see a particular install kit for maybe a particular interface, they're often included as part of a broader bundle that has been purchased. So for instance, I'm in Pi System Access. I know as part of that I have purchased the PySQL client install kit. So you can see all of the install kits that come as part of that bundle. So I can actually search for PySQL, and this is going through all of the install kits, and now I can see the PySQL client install kit. The same thing for if I had purchased all standard interfaces. There's a bundle that I actually bought that includes all of the standard interfaces. If I open the download for that and search for one of the interfaces that I'd actually like to install, I can search under, say, UFL, and that would show the UFL install as part of that overall bundle. And that's been a little bit of confusion that's been going on since as we moved into the new system, the products and information are focused around how the software is actually sold and bundled rather than just simply opening a full list of all of the different install kits. So let's go to another area of the portal. So I just wanted to quickly highlight the Contact Us page. So this is something we talked about before. On the Contact Us page, you can see who your account manager or customer success manager are so that you can contact them directly. You can also see all of our phone support numbers by clicking in there, and you can select what is our number for our Brazilian customers and the languages that they supported. So that's another thing that people have asked, where have all the support numbers go? So you can find them under a Contact Us page. One of the next areas I'd like to highlight is the customer user management. So I'm going to go back to the home page, and then I'm going to either click, there's multiple ways to get there, but I'm going to click into my picture, and I'm going to click into my manage profile. So I'm going to see my own profile, and this is the preferences from the home page before that we clicked through and set, but you'll also see here your team. So this actually shows you all of your team members for the sites that you have access to. Now this particular user is an admin user, and that person does have access to adding more people, to disabling people, and configuring people's access. So you'll see on this page I do have a lot of buttons around adding team members or configuring their site access. If you are not an admin, if you're any of the other levels of user, either a download user, a support user, or a super user, you will see information, but you will not be able to change it for others. So I'm just going to kind of quickly look through some of the how do I add a team member. So as an admin user, if I click into add a team member, now I can actually start to go through this process. Let me add Craig, for instance, as a team member, Craig Torpey. He's an engineer. I don't know exactly phone number, but I will put one in. He has an email, and the email becomes linked into the account, the SSO account. So this is crucial that it's actually a live email that can receive and send information. What language does he prefer? So I'm going to pick English. When does he work? Let's just say he actually works out of our Philly office, Eastern Standard Time. And what kind of profile do I want to give this person? So now here's a question of, okay, what do these various profiles mean, and what are the different types of access that they have? So for the time being, so I can get past this window, I'm going to pick a support user, and I'm going to set him as a final site. So now let me actually close this out. If I go on to the next, I can add him into another site, or I can then have to confirm, and I save it, and then the user is created. And that user will then, at that email address, if they do not have an SSO account, get an email that says you need to set up an SSO account. If they do have an SSO account, then it will then link that SSO, and they'll get an email that says you're ready to go in the customer portal. So now the question came up, what does the various user profiles mean, and what do they look like? So let me just type in here, portal user profiles, and do a search. And now you can see what is a customer portal user profile. So now I can see that knowledge article. And again, the knowledge article then kind of details out what those various types of users have, what they can do. So again, if you have a question, your first place to go to is to actually try to search for the information to see if there's a knowledge article associated with that you can then use to help solve your problem. Let me go close this back and go back to the home page. So another thing that has come up and many people have asked is, okay, so where are various things that have existed in the past? So things like the product roadmap, or maybe some of the older product pages that included an interface selection utility. So again, the idea there is, let's search for it. Let's search for product roadmap. And then you can see in the search results, it shows up as the first search, but you can also see on the content type. So you can see the various content types of where they're coming from, things like PySquare, the product or product pages. So I can filter that down too. So now I can see the actual Pi system roadmap, and I can get back to that information. If I actually look into our knowledge base, we actually have a knowledge base article called Where Can I Find the Pi System Roadmap? And then if I click into that, and I can see that knowledge article, it's a very simple knowledge article, but it's a very simple question. Where can I find it? And again, it also gives you the direct link to the roadmap. So now the other question came up, where's the rest of the product pages? So let me actually go back and just search for product, for instance. And if I filter that down to product pages, I can actually go back to the product pages that we've had before, the developer technologies, and I can see another thing that a lot of people have asked for is where's this interface configuration utility, and it's there. So a lot of the information that we have is all powered through the search engine. So again, when you have a question, when you're looking for information, use the search engine in order to first look to see where that information can be. It can either be directly searched, or we've created a knowledge base if others have asked about it that shows you how to get to that information. So then the last thing I want to show, and this has been a question that has come up, is how do I see like all the security alerts or all the different release announcements or things like that. So you can see the feed, and it's designed around things that you have. It's designed around the most recent information. But what if I want to just see everything? So there's a little way to actually have the search engine show you all the content that it's indexing. I'm just going to do a simple blank search. I put a space bar into the search. So now I get all of the results that have been included within our system, and now I can filter down to a specific content type. Like I can filter down to, let's say, security bulletins. And now I see all of the security bulletins that are in our system, and I can look through those. I can see, let me open this up because we have more than 10. I can see all of those. I can click into any one of the security bulletins, and I can see all the information around this. So that's been the question, is where did all of those information go? It's still there. Again, everything is powered around search, so we want to try to present you with the information that's relevant. But again, you can see all of the information by just doing a search or doing a blank search. And so that's been a couple of the very big things that we've seen. Let me actually go back to the slide deck now. So a couple of key takeaways. Going to my.osisoft.com, that's your hub of information, has all the training materials, has all the links, and we're populating that with things like this webinar. Search is the best way to find things on the portal, and I showed you our customer portal FAQ knowledge article that has a lot of answers to questions that we hear customers coming up with in terms of where to find information, how to do certain things. I've shown the myOSIsoft feedback form, and that's available on feedback.osisoft.com now. And as always, if you have pressing issues or you're having issues in the portal, please don't hesitate to call our technical support team, and they'll be happy to help you with your problem and walk you through what you're seeing. And just to re-highlight again, the training materials that are available, it's a good place to start if you've never used the portal before, and they're translated into all the major languages. And with that, Tom.
Thank you, Randy, for the walkthrough. That was really helpful. Folks, at this time, we'll be taking questions from you. Once again, please use the Q&A option on the right of your WebEx interface, and we will answer your questions as they arrive. If you happen to have moved your screen to a full screen view of the webinar, the Q&A option may now be located at the bottom, so please keep an eye out for that. All right, Randy, we have a number of questions already in. I'm going to go over them in order here. How does the OSI determine site administration? We've had request corrections on some sites to make it appropriate.
So the answer to that is we've done some initial ideas of the site administrations based upon the information that we had at the time. If you see information and see people who shouldn't be site admins or should be site admins, reach out to your customer success manager or your EPM, or if you yourself have access to the portal, you can create a case on the portal itself. Let me go back to the portal. You can create a case on the portal itself. If I go back, open a new case, oops. I can create a customer portal case and say, I'm a super user, I should be an administrator, or so-and-so is an administrator and they shouldn't be, and we will work with our support teams in order to have the user access be set up appropriately. We have a dedicated support team throughout this go live timeframe, which is doing just that. They're dedicating to setting up and fixing various levels of user access.
Thanks, Randy. Can you guys hear me now? I apologize.
Yes, Craig, we can hear you.
Yeah, so if we step back even further, the whole idea is that we want to put the power to kind of manage and determine your own team in your hands, right? So, as Randy mentioned, we had some data, we had some users that were already associated to sites and to systems and had download access through the old support site, and we sort of used that to try to bring over the users that we were confident were part of that organization. Obviously, like Randy said, we weren't 100%, and we need to work with our customers to make sure that that initial user list is right and those admins are correct so that you can manage your users moving forward. But ultimately, the admin users, that's up to the customers, right? So I would suggest if there are, as Randy said, I would suggest if there are issues, the account managers, the CSMs, all of these resources are at your disposal to relay the information, or you can get in contact with us directly, and we have that team that's working with our customers to get those initial team lists correct.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Randy. Our next question, on the My Team list, how do we know who is the site admin versus permissions as a PI admin? As we understand, there could be more than one PI administrator, but only one site administrator.
So I'll take this one, Randy. So if you want to go to the My Team page, so there's a number of places you can see what profile a user has. So right there, you see profile admin user, and this would show anyone, whether they're super user, download user, support user, or an admin user. We don't really differentiate between a PI admin or an admin user. So I understand that, in the past, the different verbiage could represent different things on the customer side. But right now it's, as an admin user, you're able to manage the team. So a super user can do everything that an admin user can do, except for provision new users. So if you have a Pi admin that's responsible for supporting your suite of infrastructure across your organization, but isn't necessarily responsible for, or you don't want them to be responsible for managing people, then it might be more of a super user permission that would be appropriate for that user. As far as the number of admin users you can have, it's unlimited. If you wanted to have 15 people at a site and all of them be admin users, again, that's completely up to you.
Thank you, Craig. Our next question. I have access to Pi Square, but not the portal. How would the individual resolve this issue?
Yeah, so there are two different things, right? Pi Square is our completely public-facing community for users, non-users, customers, non-customers, partners to interact and talk about Pi. The portal is specifically designed for our customers. So if you're a customer that has access to Pi Square through an SSO, and you need access to the portal to get things like downloads, knowledge articles, create cases, and interact with OSIsoft through this tool, then reach out to support, reach out to customer service. You'll see that email address on the SSO login page if you try to log in and you don't have a user created for you already, and we can work to reconcile that and get you set up in the portal.
Thanks, Craig. Our next question, on the My Team list, how do we remove members that should not be on our site team?
Great. So the tool right now is that active switch, so it either deactivates or activates the user. We are working on an enhancement, and this is something that we've heard a number of times, especially for customers that have large teams, that they might have a number or a high amount of inactive users. And we're working on being able to hide those so it doesn't clutter your experience when managing your team. So there's no way to delete them from here, but you can deactivate them, which removes all of their permissions to your company's data, to your company's product. And then we will work on the enhancement to allow you to interact with this page a little bit more streamlined by hiding those inactive users.
Excellent. We have another follow-up here. How do we receive responses to a case opened on the portal regarding, for example, like an email or a call, only if via the portal we log into? If we don't get a response in a reasonable time, how do we communicate follow-up?
Okay, great question. So one, if we email you through our internal case management tool, which is essentially our view into the data, the same way the portal is your view into the data, you should receive an email to the email address that you have set up on your account. So that's one way. Two, right now, if you log into the portal and you view your cases, you can set up your preferences to see things like cases needing my attention, cases recently updated. So we hope that the more users get used to using this tool as the way to interact with support, services, account management, sales, everything that we have to offer from an OSI side, that they'll configure their homepage and all of their preferences to get the data that they need upfront right in their face so that they can make decisions on it. We have heard this a number of times, though, so we will look into if there's additional features that we can add, maybe on a case to like alert when updated or send email when updated. Currently, it's not in the portal or in the platform right now, but we will have that logged as an enhancement. We will look into ways to alert our customers when a case status has been updated or an entry has been added to a case.
Thank you. Our next question. Will the archive cases prior to 2019 be loaded for reference, as that is as far as back as there is now? We use these for reference over time versus submitting a new case to address the same issue.
Yeah, and this is a great question. So we had a number of different systems internally And I'm sure for our long-term customers that have been working with us through support, through services, through purchasing software and services, that you might see a different look and feel for all of the different things that you interact with. And one of our goals on our side was to consolidate all of that into one tool, one platform, so that all of our teams internally have the same view into the customer's data and the customer's experience. So we wanted to prevent the customer experience where they talk to a support engineer and a support engineer says, ooh, I don't see this, or they talk to a service engineer and it's, well, I don't have access to this. Everyone has that. So in doing that, we had to migrate a lot of data and we had to combine systems. So we did migrate the last 2 years of case data into this new system. There are some cases that we couldn't match one-to-one to either a contact or a account. And in those instances, we still migrated them. They're still there. If you expect to see cases but you don't, please open up a support case. Please work with us so that we can correctly associate those migrated cases to the right accounts so that you have visibility into them. For cases previous to 2 years from now, we still have all of that data. So if for whatever reason, an audit, if you need that data, please work with us and we'll be able to provide you an export of those cases. But the 2 years of cases have been migrated. If you don't see them, please let us know and we'll work to get those associations corrected.
Our next question, the new portal puts an emphasis on the case pane, but I need the feed pane much more often. Is there a way to resize this to make it larger?
Again, this is a great enhancement. We've heard this a number of times, so it's something we're going to be prioritizing as we continue to enhance the portal, the pages, and the experience. So not only have we heard that it should be a little bit bigger, but that more data or more details around the specific object that's being shown in the feed should be available to the customer right there so they don't have to hover over. So I appreciate the idea, and it's something that we're going to be implementing.
And to add to that with Craig, and if you do see these things or you have specific other things in it, please don't hesitate, and I'll click link back in it to go back into our feedback section for myOSIsoft. And as Craig mentioned, we've heard this a lot, and actually it's kind of interesting that actually I'm trying to find it. My feed on my cousin does not show enough characters and information. Go into one of the ideas, if it matches what you have, add comments to it, upvote it. This is, as Craig said, these are enhancements that we're looking to provide, and we're going to really use this as a way to drive the things our customers are asking for. So please use the tool, vote for things, comment on things. The more information you can provide us, the better we can make the tool overall.
Thank you, gentlemen. Our next question, what will happen with the links, for instance, in PySquare to tech support knowledge base articles?
Yeah, another great question. So with this, as I mentioned, this transformation that we've done internally to put things in one place, and as Randy mentioned earlier in the webinar, we spent a lot of time migrating the top knowledge articles over to the portal, and we're continuing to do that to eventually bring all our data into this one platform. So for old links, what we've set up right now is if you click on an older link, what it will do is it will trigger a search in the new portal for that KB number. And if that KB has been migrated, it will be returned as a result. Now, if it hasn't been migrated and you still don't see any results, and you want to prioritize that particular knowledge article being migrated, please let us know. We can work on it and get it up there probably within the day.
And to add to Craig's point, with our new search engine, we also have the ability to see what people are searching for and not finding. So we actually have an initial report from our first week where people were looking for certain KBs and not finding it. And we're using that as a mechanism to gauge what more information we need to bring over.
Thank you, gentlemen. Our next question, what is an SSO account? I've been using my company email to log into OSIsoft since 2017 when I took the Pi System Administration for IT Professionals class directed by the instructor during the course. Is the SSO an additional account?
Yeah, again, this is a great question. The SSO is a piece to the puzzle. So for those who currently have active single sign-on accounts, You'll still be able to access things like PySquare or the learning site and download learning materials with that SSO. The portal introduces this concept of users, which we sync to your SSO account. So think of SSO as a authentication, and then if your user exists, you're authorized and you have access to your company's data through the portal. So again, as we mentioned a number of times, we're working through to clean up those team lists. If there's something that you think you should have access to but you don't, please let us know. We'll work through it. Your account management team, your CSM and EPMs, and the support team are all hands on deck trying to get everybody up and set up in the new system and starting to see the value of all the things that we're now providing.
Thank you, Craig. Folks, we are running out of time, so we're only going to answer 2 more questions here. If we did not get to your question during this webinar, we will respond to you via email with a prompt answer. Our next question, as an admin user, we are allowed to add a team member. However, do you still allow users of my company to request an access directly to you? If yes, what will be the profile?
So currently we're relying on the account managers and the CSM teams, the team members, the OSIsoft internal employees that have the best understanding of who they worked with for the company and who should be on the team to add users that aren't admins. After we get through this initial churn of going live and getting everybody set up, OSIsoft would not be adding users with either a support, a download, or a super user profile. We still would be the ones needed to add admin users, but again, putting that power in the customer's hands to say, yes, this person is a valid download user, I want them to have access to my site's downloads, or no, this person should be a support user, they don't need access to downloads, but I want them to interact with support. So eventually, and that date right now is tentatively set for April 19th, but the idea is the power is in the customer's hands. The customer should be empowered with both tools and understanding to manage and control their site's access for a number of reasons, security being a huge one of them.
Thanks, Craig. Our final question for the hour, is there a way to set a default site instead of all sites?
Is there a way to set a default site instead of all sites? So I assume what the customer is asking here is that when they go to one of these pages, instead of seeing all sites, one of their sites is defaulted. That's a great enhancement. Let's put that up on our feedback site and we can look into it. Likely, we could do this based on the primary site of the user, but we may be able to add something to have each user select their default site as well, so that when they go to these different tabs, the data that's displayed is all based on that default site. So thank you for the suggestion.
Thank you, Craig, and thank you, Randy. Folks, unfortunately, we have run out of time, so if we did not get to your question, once again, we will respond directly back to you via email. If you do have additional questions following today's webinar, please feel free to reach out to your CSM or EPM for more information. And last but not least, do not forget about PyWorld, our annual North American event happening April 8th through 12th in San Francisco. This is your opportunity to gain more hands-on experience regarding collecting data and key insights into the OSIsoft Pi system. And we will also be holding our Tech Support Central, which will have additional information based on the OSIsoft portal, and we'll be more than happy to help you with any support cases there as well. Once again, Randy, Craig, thank you for presenting this morning, and thank you all for attending our webinar. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Randy.
Thanks, Tom and Craig.